Welcome to the Killer Innovation Show, the longest continuously produced podcast in history. Each week, Phil McKinney brings you the insights and strategies to amplify your creativity and innovation skills. Here's your host, Phil McKinney.
I just got back from 2 weeks in Silicon Valley. This is a normal set of trips that I take periodically throughout the year. I spent the flight back over the weekend reflecting on what I saw, the patterns, and what's emerging in the Valley. Now, everywhere I went, when I thought about the history of Silicon Valley, there are billion dollar companies today, what we think are the tech elephants out there that started as ideas that everyone thought was stupid. Think about it. Twitter started off as, quote, just a breakfast update, if you know the early days of Twitter. And in fact, before Twitter became Twitter, do you know what it was called? It was called Audio, and it was a podcast directory. And in fact, this show, my Killer Innovations podcast, was one of the first shows listed on Audio. I got to know the Audio guys really well in their early development phases. Apple came in, started Apple Podcast, wiped Audio out. They took an internal development tool, which was kind of crude, and released that. That's what became Twitter. And early on, it got known as for breakfast updates. Google was viewed as just being too simple. And Facebook in the early days was only for college kids. Yet these worst ideas became some of the biggest winners out there. Now, ultimately, there's a hidden pattern here that most people miss, and missing it could cost you that next breakthrough. Now, let me show you the patterns that I've kind of teased out over my years, being both in Silicon Valley, but having been in the tech industry. So, what's happening right now? Here's what made this trip so revealing. Saturday, when I was at San Jose Airport, I spent 30 minutes watching all the digital ads at the terminal that I was flying out from to come back to Denver. I saw ads from Cisco, ServiceNow, Zoom, you name it, NVIDIA. Those were the ads that are continuously running on these big digital billboards at San Jose Airport. What I noticed was every single ad screamed AI, and everybody was trying to out AI each other. Now, this is an echo from the past. I've seen this exact pattern before. During the dot-com boom, every company suddenly became an online-first, online-focused company. Millions got funded just for adding .com to their story. Now, we know where that ended with the dot-com bust, and companies being wiped out, and hundreds, if not billions of dollars lost. Now, today, any idea without AI is viewed as outdated. You can't get funding, you can't get support. But here's the thing about real breakthrough ideas. They never follow the crowd. So let's talk about this from really tearing apart what is going on here. While everyone chases the same trend, the real breakthroughs are happening in the opposite direction. They look terribly initially, not because they are terrible, but because they violate what everybody thinks is smart right now. Now, I've identified 3 specific ways breakthrough ideas get dismissed, and each one reveals how to spot the next big winner. While everyone else is following the herd, this is what you want to think about. So what's the pattern number 1? The useless trap. Now, let me give you a little context here. These are ideas that seem to solve no real problem. So Twitter, for example. In the early days, every morning, everybody would tweet out what they had for breakfast. But who cares? Investors could not see the point. It seemed completely useless. Now, what it was is there's a hidden truth in here. But breakthrough innovations don't solve existing problems. They create entirely new behaviors. They meet the unmet needs and the unknown needs of users. These are problems users don't even think they have. Twitter didn't improve existing communication, it invented real time global conversations. So while most people ask, what existing problem does this solve? You should be asking, what new human behavior could this enable? Now, what are some of the Silicon Valley evidence of this? So, I was walking through Palo Alto these past 2 weeks, and you think about it, you see all the companies out there. Like, for instance, Airbnb seemed insane when it first came out. You were staying with strangers. You would literally, if someone had an extra bedroom, while they were still living in their house, you would stay in their house. You would see them in the kitchen. You would hang out with them. Total strangers. Now Airbnb, with its model, and in fact, with real estate investors focusing on building homes and having homes in the rental market for Airbnb, now it's just completely normal behavior. Now, this pattern repeats everywhere. But let's move on to pattern number 2, the too simple trap. Now, this is about ideas that seem embarrassingly basic. You're like, oh, that's obvious. There's nothing there. There's no IP there. This pattern of overlooking because of simplicity. The poster child for this is Google. Google was just a white page with a search box. Yahoo page crammed everything onto their homepage. They knew they had your eyeball. They wanted to give you as much information on the homepage. Google literally looked unprofessional, incomplete, an idea that was just an early nugget. Now, the hidden truth is simplicity isn't a lack of sophistication. It's literally the hardest thing to achieve. When you design something so that it is insanely simple to use, that signals to you about how much effort and how much thought goes into the design. Google eliminated complexity everybody thought was necessary. The standard was the Yahoo page. Google came in, totally disrupted. So while most people are asking, where are all the features? I need more features. I'm going to stack your features against your competitors. You've got less features, therefore you're less value. You should be asking, what complexity is this eliminating? So, give you a little bit of a personal connection. At HP, I cannot tell you how many HP innovations we missed, almost missed, or started working on and gave up on because of this simplicity. Bitphone being one. Small company, we acquired it. It was for mobile device management, very early in mobile device management, and we totally screwed it up. Because we looked at it and looked, man, this is overly simple. Is there anything really under the hood here? What is this? If we'd really had thought about it in this context, I think it could have been a big, big win. So in this case, we said, hey, they don't look enterprise great enough. How are we going to take this and take it to AT&T and Vodafone and Verizon and Rogers and the big mobile carriers around the world and convince them? But sometimes simple is the breakthrough. Now, pattern number 3 is the belief that a product is going after the wrong market. Now, this is focused on ideas that are targeting markets that seem too simple. Now, for Facebook, in the early days, it was just for college students. In fact, you had to have a .edu email address even get on to Facebook. It was viewed as, oh, you're just going after this tiny little addressable niche market. Why limit yourself so severely? You'll get VCs to say, oh, we need 10 times the market size. At HP, when we had startups would come in and pitch me, we had kind of this mindset, which is totally wrong, that you got to come in with $1 billion idea right out of the gate. You're not $1 billion day one. You're not. You're a little ripple in a 120, $125 billion corporation. It's a non-starter. Wrong. So Breakthrough innovations don't serve existing markets. What they do is they eventually create entirely new markets. Facebook was going after, didn't target social media users. There weren't any yet. They got the college students hooked on it and then went from there. As those college students became employees and took it back to their families and their friends, that's how Facebook was able to build a groundswell. But they weren't going after a market that existed. Social media didn't exist, but college students wanted to stay connected and communicate with each other. So while it looked like a niche, it literally was creating an entirely new market. So while most people are asking, how big is this market? What's your total addressable market? All the questions you get from your leadership or investors or whatever, what you should ask is, what market could this create? So think about it. In the case of Silicon Valley, every billion-dollar innovation I've seen emerge over my career started by creating markets, not serving them. And this pattern is consistent across decades. You can go all the way back in the Valley, back to the PC market. The PC market didn't exist. You had to create the market. So here's really, I'm going to boil this all down to 3-question filter. When you are looking at new ideas, here are the 3 questions you should ask. 1, what new behavior could this enable? 2, what complexity could this eliminate? And 3, what market could this create? When everyone else sees stupid ideas, use these 3 questions to force yourself to look a little bit deeper, to go and look at it more closely. Don't be the ones like me when I was CTO at HP and made the mistake of overlooking ideas because they weren't big enough. They couldn't address an existing problem. All of the traps we get ourselves caught in that drive bad decisions. So, and right now, everyone's out there racing to add AI to their pitch. It's a perfect example. So, following that exact same playbook as the dot-com bubble, and I'm telling you, I'm getting worried about AI is turning in, there could be a bubble that we're emerging. But that next breakthrough is probably something completely different. So, while others chase trends, you get to spot the real opportunities. The ideas that seem too simple, too focused, or niche, or too different. That's where the billion-dollar breakthroughs hide. The biggest breakthroughs often look like the absolute worst ideas. Twitter, give me a break. Especially when everyone else is following the same trend, such as AI. The question I have for you is, will you have the courage to recognize them before it's obvious? So, what stupid idea have you seen that everyone dismissed but later became huge? Share your observations in the comments below. I read every comment and I reply to 95% of all the comments posted on all the different social media platforms. So if today's episode, if it changed your thoughts about innovation or how you should think about, not dismissing, quote, stupid ideas too early, how about hitting that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and hit the bell. We need to feed into the algorithms so that the episodes get seen by more people. I'll help you spot that next breakthrough that everyone else catches on, but you have to subscribe to stay up to date on everything that we're producing. For decision frameworks, all the tools, all the guides to spot breakthrough innovation, check out my Substack studio notes. The links are over there, and everything is downloaded for free. So as I wrap up today's show, this is a shorter one. I'm just trying to squeeze it in here. But until we get back together, keep questioning what everybody else thinks is obvious and stupid. The breakthroughs are hiding in plain sight. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Podcasting nonstop since 2005, this has been the Killer Innovation Show on the Innovators Network.